Hi, everyone. So, I hope everyone is having a pretty awesome day. I know every time I sit at my desk, I'm like bombarded with how much I need to clean up. It's ridiculous. I'm having a yard sale tomorrow. Um, on my yard sale, and I have a yard sale once a month, and I wouldn't say every dollar, but the majority of the money that I do make from yard sales, I put it into an account. Actually, I don't. Put it in little envelopes, and I save my little envelopes. Uh, I put it in different little envelopes versus the amount. And so, like, I have a certain amount. I know I have other accounts, but this is like I don't have to put into a savings account or a checking account or my CD. I just put it into, like, I number it 1 through 50, different envelopes 1 through 50. And I do it 3 times, like 3 sets of these. And then I put the little amount in each of them. And you'll be surprised. Like, I used, I did it I've done it multiple times. And I did it when to use towards all of the moving cost of when we got into our condo. And then I started back again and I used it for when I was done. I had enough to put down on a down payment for a car. And so I'm hoping that by September, I'd have all of it in cash because I typically like to think of it as, um, going towards a goal. Then I could lay out all the cash. And it doesn't feel like I've taken any money from myself because it's never hit an account. It's brainwashing my mind. That's what I'm doing. But anywho, that's not what we came here for you to get my little 2 cents of financial advice, of how I'm able to kind of save money. We are actually here for something completely opposite. Let's talk about Belle Collective. Sorry, I have my jewelry is all over this house, and that's horrible because then I lose. I don't want to lose. I don't say lose. I say that it goes away, and then I have to find it um, sometime later. But anyway, we're here for Belle Collective. Let's talk about Belle Collective. And before I get too heavy into this today, I think we need to have a heart to heart. I like Carlos King. I will admit, I like Carlos King. I do listen to his YouTube. I don't listen to his podcast. I do listen to his YouTube. I watch, I think I watch all of his shows. I've watched at least all of his, no,
Comma, FaceTime video quotation mark.
oh, sorry, my daughter's phone. It is 10:50 at night, and these little kids are calling each other. Um, anyway, sorry about that. Um, so what was I talking about? Yeah, I think I've watched all of Carlos King's shows. I believe I have. If I haven't, like I don't review, and I may review Love and Marriage Detroit. Um, I do not review Love and Marriage Huntsville, even though I watch it. Melody is my soul. So is Letitia, but I can't stand Letitia. Um, and um, and then Martell is just, ugh. Anywho, um, And I do watch Love and Marriage DC. I can't stand Love and Marriage DC. I watch it. This season is better than the previous season, but that ain't saying much. I think part of the problem is that these women aren't really friends. So it makes it makes watching the show really difficult. Yeah. But I do watch it. I watch clearly Belle Collective because we're going to talk about Belle Collective right now. I watch the show on WeTV, which was when I reviewed it, which was the gospel show. And I have to say that amongst, let me see, what about the gospel show? Do we have? I will say that the gospel shows has its own issues, but I think that's more tolerable. And I think that's the best of the reality shows out of all of these. But between Love and Marriage Huntsville, Love and Marriage DC, and Belle Collective, he has some of the most, I'm not even gonna say problematic, toxic men. And I know that it may be unfair for people to hear this, but it's borderline dangerous. And a few of them are absolutely, absolutely abusive. And I was watching Carlos King interview tonight with Marie, and Marie, she's like, I don't like Latrice, but watching Latrice be handled by her husband in that way, it is one step, the next step is he will hit her. And this is my point. And I'm glad that, and Carlos King is nodding along. Now, he feels that he's being journalistic and trying to be non-biased when he talked to Latrice, when he talks to all of the, when he did an interview with Marceau and Martell and Melody, and he feels like he can be this non-biased, pretty PC, pretty like I can smile and I can be jovial in your face, when I'm like, I'm sorry, it feels like you're co-signing because you want good television. Yes, this makes good television, but I'm letting you know right now, you smiling in these people's faces, it makes it feel like, especially the men, that you're co-signing this toxic behavior. The problem I have with Martell, and I'll be quick, the interview that he did a couple of days ago with Queen Sheba demonstrates even more. Excuse me. It demonstrates even more how on Love and Marriage Huntsville, we're watching a show where nobody is addressing the large elephant in the room. Melody kind of says something, but people, and I'll listen to it on Twitter about how people will slam Melody and how she behaves and how she's the one who's being toxic and being rude and not being friendly because she doesn't want him to walk her to her car, and that she should have just let him stay at the birthday party. Like, all of these concessions, people are thinking that that Melody is the problem, and it's because on this show, Carlos is allowing this show to proceed without anyone addressing the fact that he keeps taking her back and forth to court. He's the one who's asking for child support. He's the one who is having some random chick babysit the kids, but then you want her to to check in with you every time she goes. He's not telling how many times he's popped up on her when she's on dates. He's not, there's nobody there. Carlos is not telling and when he says some of this, he's like, oh, you're just so in love with Melody. It's like, wait a second. This is not the definition of how somebody shows love. And this is the problem that I'm having now. I've been kind of like, and I've been listening to different YouTubers, especially like Bondi Blue, who's been pointing it out. And I was like, yeah, I get it. And I've been trying to be a little bit more tolerant. But now, the most recent thing is that Martell's been showing her sex tape that she made with him, at least one. There's probably more than one. Showing it not just to uh, his baby mother, but to additional people like Queen Sheba. He sent some of the tweets and the screenshot to Queen Sheba and a number of other people that he sent it to. And it's like, but her intent was when she was married to you and she's having sex with you, you're recording it. And she didn't have a belief that you're going to take screenshots and send this off to other people and then send it to her, threatening that you're going to put this and then trying to get other women, other people also to put this on blogs. But then they drew the line and was like, I'm not going to put it out there. Like, and then you admit that you threatened her for this. You're trying to go after the person who's making the money, who's taking care of the kids the majority of the time. You're going after her to pay your $20,000 of attorney fees when you brought the case. And you're not paying her child support. You wanted her to pay you child support. And all the while, people are slamming Melody and how she treats him on the show. Like she should be nicer to this man. And because Carlos doesn't put the context on the show, people are attacking Melody for her behavior. And this is the problem that I'm now beginning. That's one aspect that I'm having a problem, is that you're allowing toxic behavior to fester without it being called out. But then all these people are attacking Tiffany for being the only one that's being upfront and forward. And I hate the fact that I have to defend Tiffany because I'm not a big fan of Tiffany, but this is where you put us in. You know, like, was Tiffany out of line? Absolutely. But do I care that Tiffany said it? Absolutely not. Because Martell is trash. Anybody who's going to take screenshots and try to do porn, threaten her with releasing the porn that she made with her husband and try to release it to the public, is a trash man. I'm sorry. Especially when I'm spouse, especially she's the mother of your 4 kids, and then you trying to get her to pay child support. And I can't get over the fact that you're trying to get her to pay your attorney's fees when you bought the case. And you won't go to anger management. You will not go to therapy. I am speechless. So I say that to say, when you have that context and then you watch this show, Belle Collective, And that first episode, first and second, with Latrice and Cliff. And the fact that you can like get up in front and giggle and ha ha in front of Latrice and play off with Cliff. Oh, I like Cliff. You do that. And you realize that you are literally for laughs and giggles, you are allowing us to watch Latrice be physically abused, physically, emotionally abused, and not near nobody. See, like if he's doing it behind closed doors, that's one thing. See, I do remember the first and second season, there's been glimpses, and you're like, oh, that's kind of effed up. Like when I will never forget when he left her. When he left her, sitting there at the table by herself. She looked like a fool and she was crying. Then last season, he's talking about like, well, if I get pregnant, this is what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, then we'll just adopt you out. I mean, like I said, there were moments and we all were like, oh, he's rude, right? But this is where it crossed the line. And production, I'm calling you out, production. That was the moment where y'all could have, when he yanked her, that's the moment y'all come in and be like, okay, bro, I know you mad, let's de-escalate. But y'all just hid and let the cameras roll. And then still was cool with Cliff being there at the same spot and was standing over her and watching her talk and listening to her and her friends have a conversation. And y'all didn't say, Cliff, I'm gonna need you to go home. I'm gonna need you to chill out. Nobody walked over to her and say, are you good? Do you need a place? Do you need us to put you in a hotel room for the night for things to get cooled down? And if she did not, and then she said, no, that's okay. Be like, okay, here's our phone. You have our phone number. Here's our phone number. We will have somebody standing by. You can call us. And we will help, we'll be there in a few minutes. And just in case to kind of navigate this, because we want to make sure that you're safe. That didn't happen. So you're showing that you don't give two behinds about your cast. So don't say you love them, you like them, you whatever. It's bull. You are making money off of good television, fine. And we watching it. But I'm letting you know right now, this is getting ridiculous. We've said things when it came to Melody, but we never seen Martell we did see Martell lunge at her, but we've never seen, but here's the difference. The one thing I'll say about Love and Marriage Huntsville is that the other men on the show, Marcel, picked him up and carried him away, right? So at least the other men know, even though they're toxic and problematic, and I do think that they should be doing more for sure to call out Martell to say, look, you crossing some lines. But at least they know that anytime it's looking like you may actually hit this woman, let's pick him up and move him out of the situation. But there is none of these men on this show that would do that. And we have our second abusive man coming in, which is Glenn. Absolutely abusive 2.0. And 2.0 to the point that you are recording conversations of her, you are tracking her down. So we have two husbands on this show tracking their women down, doing pop-ups. And Glenn just walking in the door. Now, I'm going to say, I hope and pray that this is staged. Because if he is just walking in, because I mean we're black, who doesn't lock the door? But the fact that you feel so comfortable that you're just gonna walk up in this house in this way and call people out. I'm just praying that it's staged, because if it's not staged, this is such a problem. And again, Carlos, in production, do y'all feel safe? And then you sit up here with Marie and you have Marie talking and y'all, again, shooting the breeze, and nobody's going to say, look, production needs to do a better job of protecting its cast or pretending to care about its cast. I mean, Love and Marriage, Love and Hip Hop, Love Hip Hop in Atlanta or New York, or I'm trying to think of the, like, man, what's the lady's name? I can't think of her name. Yeah, my memory is whatever. They cared more about they appeared to care more about those folks and being like, are you good? Or is everything okay after something popped off? Like, they cared. I'm not happy with you, Carlos, at all. Like, something's got to give. This may be good TV and you talking about good stories. This is not good storytelling when you have your cat, when you not seeming, no, you don't need to interfere in people's marriages, but you need to make sure that the women in this situation is safe. Are you going to wait until one of these women end up beaten? And then you'd be like, oh, we didn't know. We're going to end up waiting till one of these women end up hopefully not dead. And then you're like, oh, we didn't know. Because I think the one who may end up being beaten the most at this point, Latrice, if he hasn't already hit her. But I say that to say, Latrice is upset with how So Gucci responds to Marie. Marie when Marie arrived versus Latrice. And so Gucci was like, look, I was upset because of how things happened with our business relationship. Latrice is like, I tells her, look, that's cool that you have the right to feel the way that you feel. And but she still doesn't think that she did anything wrong. How she handled this was wrong. She thought that Suguchi and her were better friends. Latrice is wrong in the sense that it doesn't take 2 seconds to call somebody up or even to send a text and be like, look, chick, it ain't working out. I still want to be friends. It's called common courtesy. And so Latrice needs to work on her common courtesy. The thing that I didn't like about this exchange at the end of it, because I love how it ended peacefully in a way that Suguchi's like, look, I'm gonna just need some space and some time to get over it. My feelings are hurt. And Latrice acknowledges that I'm gonna give you some time. Thing I hated is when her husband said, when she quoted her husband saying, my husband said, as soon as because you continue to elevate, it gets lonely at the top. The problem I have with her philosophy is that because it's coming from, yes, you're going to have adversity as you move up. And yes, you're going to have only a small circle of friends, but that's just life anyway. Um, but the problem that I think I'm having with her phrase is that yes, it's coming from your husband. And it feels like Cliff wants you to be isolated. That being said, Josh calls Akeisha and has Akeisha come over to do her makeup. He is her makeup artist, and he wants to talk. Okay. Josh, Josh, Josh. Man, sir. Actually, I blame Latrice. This is the reason why you don't invite people into your house. I believe that once you tell people about what's happening in your house, and once you invite them into your house, just have the expectation that they are going to be doing, that they're going to be telling everybody your business. That's what I expect. And if they don't tell people your business, then that's fantastic. But you need to have a very low bar. And she seems to have a very high bar. Akeisha's like, Fair Street is going well. Josh is telling us what it was like living with Trish and Cliff and how it's not going well. He admits that he caused a lot of the drama. Another reason why to not let people in your house. And the fact that he is telling Akeisha all the business. Now, what's so interesting is the timeline. In the first episode, Josh was talking to Latrice, right? Latrice. And why am I not surprised that Cliff was outside listening to everything he said? And so the timeline is that they ended up going out later. And see, this is I was upset when he told Akeisha that they sleep in their separate bedrooms. I was like, see, this is why you don't tell people your business. Because it is none of this little boy's business as to where I sleep at night. And then, okay. And then they went out, and that's when Cliff popped up, and then he's getting upset because he heard everything. Now this makes sense. But after the camera, see, this is why I'm saying, production, y'all should have checked them, try to de-escalate this, but you didn't. Y'all just let them go and act like nothing was going to happen. And something did happen. Cliff and Josh got into it. Josh didn't say anything. And what did Trish do? She sat back and did nothing. So Josh had to leave. He should have never been there in the first place. Akeisha is absolutely right. She's like, look, you need to have a plan A, B, you need to have a plan B, C, D, E, and F, because your job is going to always be over your head because of the way they're doing this with you. And I think that is a legit. And when Latrice and Akeisha, they meet up with Akeisha meets up with Latrice. Akeisha brings her 2-year-old or her children, her 2 little kids, and Latrice brings her 2 grandkids. And Latrice is like, I gotta take off my shoes. Ma'am, yeah. And it becomes a bit of a mess when she's thinking of having a kid. And she's like, I want to respect my husband. We need to work through some issues. Honestly, I wish you would be honest and say, I don't want to have a child. Now, it may be that you may not want to have a child with him. And I don't think that she's going to be willing to answer that question. At this point, she may be the type that she doesn't want to have a child. And I think that that's legit and okay. I do think, though, you should have had that conversation before you got married. Anyway, Akeisha pivots to talk about what Josh was saying. She met up with Josh and whatever. And talking about, she asked the question in a way to let Latrice know that she knows something, but also not to try to spill how much Josh told her by being like, so Josh is living with, staying with you. Yeah, okay. Well, how is that working? Okay, well, how is it working with you and Cliff, with him and Cliff? See, what Akeisha could have said is, girl, because I know how your husband, how husbands can be. You bring in a new dude, even if he's gay, that can be oil and water. Like, she could have played it off, but instead she was more blunt by being like, yeah, he told me some stuff. Um, yes, I agree with Latrice to say Josh is not, going around, it's not cool that Josh is going around telling everybody her business. I agree, but this is why you don't invite people in your house. She doesn't really respond too much, I feel, to Akeisha's concerns. But the thing that I think that is more relevant here is that she was talking about how she's met over blended some of the boundaries, and because they're friends, some of the boundaries haven't been there when it comes to work. I was like, oh, she's setting this man up to get fired. Okay. Letitia and Latrice talk. Yeah. Latrice comes over to Letitia's place because Latrice wants help to do public speaking at an event. I was laughing because the assistant in the background was like, girl, this ain't it. And then they have this little chit chat about how their men are traditional men as a justification for how badly their man treats them. Fine. Tamara and Marie talk, and Marie is point blank. She's like, look, why doesn't people think you are not truthful? And she's like, me? Nobody's ever said this about me. We still talking about the group text. I really don't care about this group text. And I mean, that is so last season. Then Marie shows a picture that which I didn't, I'd have to go close up and I probably still wouldn't know. About a dude that is Tamara's ex, and he was, he wants to clear his name. We didn't get a clear picture of he's clearing his name of what. I think what we're alluding to is that trying to figure out her dating history. And honestly, I mean, I don't care. Um, because at the end of the day, we don't know if she was officially engaged. And honestly, look, let me say something real quick. I've been in dating situations with people, and they believe in their heart that it was a serious relationship. And if you asked them, they would be like, we were in a monogamous, serious relationship. If you asked me, I'd be like, when? When were we monogamous? And when were we in a relationship? I don't recall. And I will say that there's a guy that I say was my ex, and the only reason why I say it is because to me it's so complicated for me to explain what he was to me. So it's just easier to say it, but him and I weren't even officially in a monogamous relationship. And so at my age, and these women some of them are older than me, and some of them are around my age, and I think Tambra's around my age. I I don't think that, and I think first of all, a man DMing another woman on this show to clear up what they were to each other in a relate about another woman on this show, I think is ridiculously messy and petty. And I will say, this is getting too personal, but I'll say that I know from, like from me, there are times that there will be men who may I have went on a date. And like I said, my point is you can never I feel like you can never go off of men who thinks that it is appropriate to DM anybody to try to make to try to confirm a dating relationship. I think that it's petty, it's ridiculous, and just because they sent it doesn't mean it is accurate. And you people like to think that men are a little bit more honest than women are when it comes to this, and they're not. Like I said, I have been in situationships like we were dating, and I was like, we are not together at all. And when did this happen? So, um, that doesn't bother me. And so this whole quizzing about her personal life, I'm just like, I don't. I do not need to give you a an outline of my dating history. I'm grown, you grown. I've been with some dudes in the past, and what? That's what I want Tamara to say instead of being like this diplomatic thing. I think Maria would have respected her to be like, I've dated just like you dated. You got married. I haven't been married. Have I been engaged? Does it matter? None of them got married. I didn't marry none of these people. Anyway, the bond. This is my pettiness. Now I'm being petty. When he put the napkin under his shirt, I was like under his neck thing. I was like, nobody taught you etiquette, sir. Napkins have holes in them. And sir, if you want to make sure that it doesn't get on your shirt, then I'm gonna need you to take the napkin and put it on your butt because you have a shirt with buttons. Put it on your button and then do that. And do not stick your thing. I mean, you just look tacky. Who raised you? And I know you're an alpha. I am. Yes. Anyway, this whole talking about your space. Now, I feel like instead of talking about my space, how about you just call a spade and just say this? I gave you X amount of days to propose to me. The precursor of me moving in with you is that in X amount of days, you were supposed to put a ring on my finger. There is no ring. I'm moving out in X amount of days. That is setting a boundary. You saying, I need a woman cave that I'm going to be moving into makes no sense to me. It's breaking up without breaking up. And we are how old now? We don't need to be playing these silly, stupid little games. You set a boundary, you hold him to that expectation of the freaking boundary. Done. We're not 20. Oh, gosh. Moving on. So Gucci and Latrice are at this place. Now, I'm going to do. Oh, okay. I already talked about how Glenn showed up at this place looking like a plum fool. Um, and Marie's out here going off on him. I don't understand the response that Latrice, no, Latricia has after she comes back in after, and she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm just not gonna, go through with this at the moment. I don't understand why that I don't understand how we came to that conclusion, but that's not even what I have a problem with. Ma'am, for Latricia to speak so highly of herself and to feel comfortable in putting other people down. You, ma'am, are not renting a. Now, I can understand not buying a house in your name while you're still legally married. Now, that I can understand. But put it in your mama's name. Put it in your son, well, put it in your mama's name. You are renting an apartment. You guys keep going back and forth apartment and condo. You guys are renting, okay? Renting in Marie's name. You've lost me. Why does Marie have to put anything in her name for you? Now, if we're going to say this is a domestic violence situation, because that's essentially what Latricia is alluding to, that he won't let me leave. Essentially, that's what we're alluding to. And that's exactly what Marie is somewhat trying to allude to as well. If we're looking at this being an abusive situation, a domestic violence situation, then I'm going to need you to get off reality TV. I'm going to need you to go down to the courthouse and file separation paperwork. I'm going to need for you to have I'm going to need for you to have a protective order, because this right here on television is enough to get you a protective order. But if we're not about this and we just playing in our faces, then I'm gonna need you not to make those illusions. Those, I'm sorry, my mouthpiece. I'm gonna need for you to not make those assertions because it's not right. It's not right to allude that he is doing some domestic violence, stalking and everything, if he's not. Okay? Because I'm real confused. Because if you can file the paperwork to show that y'all are legally separated, then you can rent an apartment in your name by yourself. And he doesn't have right to be there. And in fact, you can still rent an apartment by yourself and he doesn't have a right to be there, even if you're married. You can't buy property without a signature from that person. So you have to have a legal separation in order for you to be able to buy property without your husband. But at this point, I'm confused. I'm confused. See, I'm not cool with people putting down other people, talking about how great and all this other you are, and you don't have to, and you have to use Marie um to get an apartment. And you gotta put some, and you're dragging Marie all up into your drama. It's not okay. It's not okay. Not okay. Like something's gotta give. I'm this Carlos, you gotta do better. I'm real talk. And on that note, I will see y'all later.